right, welcome to our 259th weekly webcast. We're in our 6th year of doing this, and it's so much fun. And I want to thank you all for showing up every single week for this. I'm going to do this forever. Okay, let me get to your question. Oh, one housekeeping announcement. So my next MBA program, as I mentioned before, starts on January 29th. That's the Gold and Platinum MBA program. And I have to disclose this, that prices for all of my products are going up significantly in early February. I want to disclose that now because I have to. And the use of proceeds from what I do, as many of you know, goes towards building schools. We finished a school in Rwanda last year. We're working now on the next school in Kenya. And my goal, my humble goal, is to build 1,000 schools in Africa with the proceeds from what I do so I can die broke and hopefully make the world a better place. All right, let me get to your questions here. First up, we got Chetan. Great to see you. You wrote, good morning, Prof. Would the Red Sea drama affect the U.S. inflation and soft landing dream? Yeah, it could. So the impact of that so far is that ships are being rerouted from the Red Sea because of the Yemen attacks, going down around Africa. So South Africa, Cape Town in particular, is benefiting significantly. They've seen a material increase in the past couple of days in cargo prices being charged there. It's also positive or beneficial, I should say, temporarily for Mauritius from a refueling perspective, as well as it's positive for Rotterdam and Singapore as well, as ships are going to refuel or fill much more oil in their tankers at those two destinations. Hopefully this stops though. Yeah. Okay. All right. And basically what this could mean is longer term, if this doesn't stop, the price of oil, of course, could go up materially. And oil is used in everything from plastic to machinery to basically it's the biggest input in anything we make. So it would have a very negative impact. Yeah. But I pray it stops this awful war we're seeing overseas. Okay. Next question is, what is a flight to quality or to safety? Yeah. So flight to quality, what that means is for portfolio managers that manage portfolios of stocks, bonds, commodities, etc. When there's a lot of geopolitical tension around the world or inflation fears, what they do is they start buying stocks or investments that are lower risk. So they might buy stocks that are value investments commensurate with what Warren Buffett owns in his portfolio. They might invest in companies where people are still going to consume that product if there is a severe recession, like Campbell's Soup, CPB, is the ticker on that one, which has a decent dividend yield. In terms of flight to quality for bonds, it could be into A-rated or higher bonds, nothing below A, which is junk status. It could mean buying more treasuries as well. And from a commodity perspective, it could also mean buying gold. And my favorite investment for commodities is ticker GLD. Which is the ETF for gold, which was introduced back in 2004. It's always my biggest position in my portfolio when I'm worried about geopolitical issues. When I say biggest position, I never recommend having more than 5% of your liquid net worth in any one particular stock or investment. So that's what flight to quality means. Last thing I'll say in that is you can also think of flight to quality as being stocks with a relatively low beta, meaning a beta of 1 or below, meaning they're not correlated to wild swings in the market. Okay. All right, next up, Chetan wrote, is there a law to prevent senators to buy stocks since they'll have the upper hand over others in terms of insider information? Yeah, a couple of things to say on that. So back in 2012, the Obama administration introduced the Stock Act, S-T-O-C-K. Stock stands for Stop Trading on Congressional Knowledge. And basically what that meant to do was to reinforce the SEC laws introduced in 1931 and 1933 in terms of no insider information allowed for government officials either. Unfortunately, we're still seeing some signs of insider information with government officials. And so as a result, we've got a congresswoman named Katie Porter, as well as a senator from New York named Gillibrand, I think, that introduced the Stock Act 2.0 recently, about a month ago. And what this is going to do is going to stop all government officials from buying stocks. Now, or at least disclose what they own. And my personal opinion on this is that government officials should not be able to buy stocks, but they should be able to buy ETFs. For example, ticker VOO, VOO, which is my favorite ETF. as it represents the S&P 500 index, and the fees are relatively low at only 3 pennies or so per $100 you invest. Okay, next up, Petra. Oh my gosh, it's been a while. I remember you were 18 2 years ago when I first we asked a question on this call, and you're a big soccer fan. I remember that. Yeah, you wrote, "Long time no see. Hope you remember me." I do. I watched and took some of your courses in 2021 when you had less than 30,000 subscribers. I have 2 questions for you today. Absolutely, and welcome back. First question you got is, what do you think of Jamie Dimon's controversial statement about Bitcoin ETFs? Yeah. So what Jamie Dimon did was he's been negative on Bitcoin forever. And he recently called Bitcoin a pet rock because it does nothing. And I think that's a really mean thing to say because, I've got a pet rock here who's really nice, actually. Pet rock doesn't talk back. His name is Pierre, and he's lovely, actually. Just kidding. Sorry. I'm doing this too long. I got props for everything. So he's just been very negative on a Bitcoin. He said that it's largely for criminals to transact with. That being said, JP Morgan does make a lot of money off of transacting with ETFs. And JP Morgan is basically a platform. And the best investments are platforms. Google's a platform. LinkedIn's a platform. Apple's a platform. You own the road, you charge the cars, meaning investors. They make money off of commissions. He's just very, very bearish on it. Yeah. But he did say in his most recent lambasting of Bitcoin that he's no longer going to comment on Bitcoin. Yeah. Okay. All right. And I'm so sorry for my sense of humor. It's awful. I know. All right. And then you wrote, will you make updates to the crypto course from your website? Yeah, I updated actually at the beginning of last year. Yeah. But the fundamentals don't change. The way to mine cryptos is as explained in that course. The way to invest in cryptos is as explained in that course as well. Yeah. Okay. And then you wrote here, thank you very much, and I wish you only the best. I'll be here a lot more often. Welcome back. Great to see you. Next up, we have Yolanda, who's from Texas, who's in my first MBA program 5 years ago. Who wrote, hello, Chris. I heard this morning about the Biden administration wants to reduce bank overdraft fees, possibly to $3. I believe banks will drop clients who are poor. Oof. What do you think? Thanks. Yeah. I don't think that banks are going to drop any clients because of their net worth. But I do believe that banks charge way too much when it comes to overdraft fees. People get charged between $20 and $40 if a check bounces. And I think there needs to be a little bit more bank regulation in the United States. What happened in 2008 breaks my heart. Because we were within 24 hours of bank machines not working globally. And what happened was there was a big rescue package, as we all know, for the big banks in the United States who were too big to fail. And then a lot of people lost their house, lost everything in Middle America, for example. And then 2 years later in 2010, these bankers got record bonuses. It's not fair. It's not fair. So I think we do need more regulation. I'm a capitalist, as you know, but I think there should be a ceiling placed in terms of what banks charge for fees. Kind of like how regulated utilities can't charge more than a certain amount. Yeah. All right. All right, next up. Oh, Manas, how are you? Manas from India. Great to see you. And everybody, please keep typing your questions. So Manas wrote, good morning, my dear mentor. What a wonderful day. How are you doing? I'm always great, thanks. And it's good to see you as well. And then you wrote here, I want a person who knows both German and English for a German course on AI. If you know someone, I'm happy to partner. Yeah, and then you wrote, give me a name, please. Yeah. So what I've done with my courses, and I have courses in 12 different languages. I've had them translated. For example, I have a course called Entire MBA 1 course on Udemy in many different languages. What I did was I hired people using Fiverr and Upwork to do the translations. And then what I did was I took the SRT or VTT files, this is techie, sorry, caption files, and I burned them directly into my version of the course. Yeah. If you're going to partner with somebody, make sure they have great delivery as well, because as Maya Angelou said, people may not remember what you said, but they'll never forget the way you made them feel. Yeah. Delivery is key. There's my pet rock. Yeah. All right. Fun. All right. And by the way, for anybody that wants to teach online on Udemy, for example, what I recommend you do is you go to, say you want to teach courses like mine, my business courses or finance courses. What you do is go to the reviews of mine and only look at the 1-star reviews, of which there are tons, and then make a better version of the courses I've made. And this is part of what I refer to as educational Darwinism. And the student wins in the long run. Yeah. And everybody has something to teach. Everybody does. And when one teaches, two learn. That's how I learn, is by teaching. And there are people that have created incredible side hustles on the most interesting things or interesting topics. For example, you have there's a woman named Patricia Greenwald that I interviewed in my Inc. column years ago. And she teaches how to bake bread on Udemy, and she makes a fortune doing this. And it's an incredible story because actually Teresa Greenway, sorry. What happened with her was she was living on food stamps. She was married to a very abusive husband, and she found the courage to leave that jerk. And then when she was living off of food stamps and government assistance, she decided, well, what can I do to make money for my family that I'm passionate about? And she's passionate about baking bread, which is prophetic. And so that's what she did. She teaches on Udemy how to bake bread. And there's another guy named Ninja. And my kids still play that game, Fortnite. But Ninja makes a fortune streaming Fortnite every year. And he started off actually on Udemy teaching how to use Twitch. And so we all have something to teach. It's the best side hustle ever. If I can humbly help you learn how to teach online, please ask me here on this weekly call as well. Thank you. All right. And then Manas wrote, I got to run. Sure. And I'll watch this later. Should I create a midjourney course now? Yeah. So midjourney it's intuitive how to use midjourney as well as how to use DALL-E. What I would focus more on is stable diffusion as a way to create AI-based art because it's not as intuitive. Yeah. And when you create that course, call it the complete stable diffusion course. And the reason I say that is because you want to cast your net as wide as possible, and using the word complete helps a lot. And I learned this from Rob Percival, who started teaching tech courses on Udemy years ago. I actually went to go visit him in Cambridge, England, spent a day with him back in 2016, and he mentored me on how to teach online. Remember, the complete X. X is whatever you're going to teach. And I've got other tips and tricks as well on how to make a great online course. If you guys want me to talk about that in more detail, just let me know, please. Thanks. Okay. And then God bless you all forever and ever. And thank you for that emoji. God bless you too. Namaste. I love you. Okay. Julie, how are you? Julie was in my first MBA class back in 2019. She lived in Germany as a wealth manager. And then she moved back to, I think it was Philadelphia, and your brother runs a big solar company. Great to see you. So Julie wrote here, and we both worked at Goldman Sachs at the same time. And Julie is actually one of the founding members of Community Teamworks, CTW, which is a great organization at Goldman Sachs where every employee has to work one day a year volunteering. Yeah. And I volunteered actually when I worked there. It was back in 2001, building a school up in Harlem and installing computers there, I should say. Yeah. So Julie wrote, Happy New Year. Great to see you. If you have a successful solar startup and want to hire a new CEO, what do you look for and how do you structure the compensation? The founder is burned out. Yeah. And wants someone new to step in. Yeah. Yeah. So what I would say is venture capitalists and sophisticated investors, of which I'm not one, but what they do is they'd always rather invest in an A management team with a B business model instead of investing in a B management team with an A business model. So what qualities should you look for? You should look for somebody who's very similar to a combination of Sir Richard Branson, Elon Musk, and I'll tell you why all this up in a second, Sir Richard Branson, Elon Musk, and Mark Benioff. And I say those three names because they all use social media a lot, okay? And they're very controversial, but you got to be tastefully controversial. So, for example, Elon Musk does not advertise. You've never seen a Tesla commercial, but he's controversial. And my favorite example of being controversial and tasteful is Sir Richard Branson. When he launched Virgin Cola, what he did was he rented a tank and he drove into Times Square to declare war on Coca-Cola. Obviously, you can't do that today. He did that back in the early 80s, but he got a lot of free PR for that. And he's very passionate when he sells. The same thing with Mark Benioff, who runs the largest company here in San Francisco, the largest employer, Salesforce.com. So back in 1999, when he launched Salesforce.com, and I met him a number of times, he's a good guy and a great humanitarian. What he did was he said, software is dead. And the logo actually initially was software with a line through it. And nobody understood what that meant at the time. And because he was very controversial by saying that traditional client-server software on your computer is outdated, we need to put everything in the cloud. Because he was controversial, he got a lot of free media attention. And he actually made friends with 40 of the top financial and tech journalists in the world. And he was able to be controversial and actually talk about why software is dead on television shows like Mad Money with Jim Cramer, for example. So he was very controversial as well. And when venture capitalists look at investing in a great CEO, they want somebody who can sell. They want somebody that's so passionate about what they do. Somebody that can make something boring like cloud software sound amazing. They want that. And quite often they want that because they think of themselves as they're interviewing the CEO. They think of themselves like they're a customer. And does this CEO, does she or he make me passionate about what their message is? And the reason why we want somebody incredibly passionate that can sell is because we know as venture capitalists and investors that given how early stage their company is, the business model is probably going to change materially over the next 3, 5, or 10 years. And we want somebody that can get us really excited about the company and the outlook as well as they pivot, which they always do. Yeah. Okay. And if you have follow-up questions, please let me know, and thank you. Okay. Next up, we got Kevin, who's in my Silver MBA, I think, who wrote, "Good morning from Lakeland, Florida. Always great to see you. And thank you so much for that Christmas and New Year's message you sent me as well. Appreciate that." 2020, good morning to you too. Bakari, how are you? Bakari is one of my incredible Platinum MBA students. I love you, man. I love you. And I hope you had a great vacation. And I want to show you what Bakari posted on LinkedIn. This is really inspirational. So Bakari, what he did, and Bakari, by the way, he used to play NCAA basketball. He had a full scholarship at University of Minnesota. He's 6'11". I'm 6 foot. But let me show you what he posted here. And you all have to use social media and LinkedIn and post articles. And the best way to think about how to post articles is just post something you're passionate about and write one article per week. And I did that for 2 years. And all the articles I wrote over 2 years, meaning 104 articles, the ones that did the best, I put that at the front of my book. And I took all those articles and I repurposed it in a book called 101 Crucial Lessons They Don't Teach You in Business School. Okay, cool. So let me go to your post here. Here it is here. Yeah, this is incredible. Yeah, look at this. Amazing. That's not the one I'm referring to though. You're posting a lot lately. I love to see it. You wrote, here it is here. You wrote, "I'm filled with gratitude and honor to being the guest speaker at yesterday's Golden Dunkers event and celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King's legacy." God bless you for this, man. I love this post. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to meeting you in real life. My kids love basketball as well. I want you to please come to my house. Come and stay with us. We have a massive basketball net. I want you to show my kids how to dunk, and me too. Good to see you. But Bakari wrote, "What are your thoughts about SEC charging JP Morgan to pay $18 million? Yeah, I think you're referring to the whistleblower issue. Yeah. So that's not a lot of money for them. I know it sounds like a lot, but for banks, it's nothing. But basically, there's this whole policy in place where if you work at a company and you see something incredibly unethical, you can report it to the government as a whistleblower. That's what they call it. And perhaps some organizations cover up that sort of thing. But anyway, it sends a message to JP Morgan that the government will not allow any cover-ups when it comes to transparency, especially because the government rescued all these banks back in 2008. All right. John Klee, how are you? John is from Rochester, New York, I think. Yeah. And he's been working with me for years now. He's one of my students. And on my website, I put up a thing saying I'm hiring somebody. And he's been working with me. He's great. And by the way, when you guys watch this weekly webcast, every single week, couple hours after we're done with this webcast. If you go to the description field of the webcast, you'll see all the questions asked, so you get immediate clickable access. And John does that, and he's great. Great to see you, John. So John wrote here, hey, Chris, my family is owned/operated a brick and mortar retail and boutique store. We sell items online, but not as much as we could. What can I suggest to start selling more online? Yeah, it's really tough competing in that area, especially because you're competing directly with Amazon. So what I would do, and this is a generic answer to apply to everybody if you're competing with a large company, you can say something like this. Unlike larger companies, we have the best customer service, and we humbly believe that a company is only as good as its customer service. We will give you 60-day, 100% money-back guarantee on anything you purchase from us, and we will pay for shipping. And I say 60 because on Amazon, I think it's like 30 days or so. Remember, a company is only as good as its customer service. Yeah. And I would also start doing more social media posts as well on whatever it is your company does. And so I had a call yesterday with a student of mine who owns a great company called Irish Glassware. And basically they sell crystal products. And I was talking to him about how you can post a lot of videos on how to take care of your crystal products, so to speak, how to source them, that sort of thing. Just become the authority in the market and think like a thought leader. And the way you become a thought leader is it's self-fulfilling. I think, therefore, I am like the Rodin sculpture. What you do is you publish a lot of content on LinkedIn, as well as YouTube, TikTok, etc. And I want you to all think about repurposing content, similar to what Nintendo has done for decades now. Nintendo's older 8-bit, 16-bit, and 64-bit products, they repurpose on their newer consoles, which is a very high margin product for them. And what I mean by this is if you look at this weekly webcast that I do, and I've been doing for 5 or 6 years now, the best 7 questions asked become repurposed as LinkedIn videos, as well as TikTok videos, Instagram videos, etc. And that way you can work smarter and not harder when repurposing your content. Yeah. All right. And then Chris wrote here, I sold my first put credit spread this morning as a small test. Nicely done. Now, when you're using options, I want you to be really careful. If you're going to transact in options, practice for 6 months first and download the software product called Think or Swim for free from TD Ameritrade. And you can create a paper portfolio, a pretend one, and practice that way. Now, I don't want my students to underwrite or sell puts or calls. I want you to only think about maybe buying puts or calls, because the most you can lose if you buy a put is whatever you paid for it, and the same thing with a call. If you underwrite, meaning you sell them, what happens is you can get randomly assigned. And what that means is if somebody purchased a similar option to the one you sold, then the CBOE or whatever exchange you're transacting on can randomly assign you to fill their side of the order, which means you could lose 10x your investment. Yeah. All right, next up, Secret Tuber wrote here, hey, Chris, off topic, sure, anything. What are your views on minimum sleep of 8 hours? Do you believe in it? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I monitor my sleep every single night using the Oura Ring. It's kind of expensive. If you're going to buy it, search for coupons, right? And I have to pay like $5 or $6 a month for it, but it's worth it. The health benefits are great. And what this does, and Oura is spelled O-U-R-A, is it monitors the most important sleep you can get, which is called deep sleep. And before I got this ring, and after I got this ring, actually, I realized I was getting no deep sleep every night. And deep sleep is when your muscles repair themselves, your brain fixes itself so you can speak gooder and stuff. And it just helps your immunity as well. And you can monitor your deep sleep as well using the app. I'm not sponsored by them or anybody. I never will be. I want to stay true and pure to you, my students. So I'll show you last night. So last night, I only got 6.5 hours of sleep. I usually get between 7 and 8, right? But last night, my sleep quality was 83, which is good. I don't know if you can see that. I'll come a little bit closer. Okay. And then my deep sleep was 14%. And I improved my deep sleep from 5% a couple of years ago to low teens. And the way I did it was as follows. Number one, if I use my screens at night, I wear these blue blocking glasses. And blue blocking glasses, and this is a scientific fact, what they do is and it's just clear glasses, and they're cheap. It blocks blue light from these devices, or any device, from entering into your eyes, so to speak. And I'm going to show you the glasses that I purchased. So let me let's go to orders, order details, and let me actually stop sharing for a second so you don't see my address. Orders, and we had to put up cameras at home. We've had some issues. Yeah. Okay. Give me 1 second. And let me do a search on the orders. And this is definitely worth your time, I promise you. Okay, orders, blue glasses. Okay, great. So now I'm going to share a screen. All right, so here they are right here. And my kids, actually, my youngest son, Dylan, he bought them as well. It's really good for you. And these blue blocking glasses, as I mentioned earlier, they block blue light. And they're relatively cheap as well. You get them for $13 and you get 2 pairs as well. So I recommend that in the last 3 hours before you go to bed, if you're going to watch TV or use a laptop or use your iPhone or Android handset close to your face, you wear these things. That will help you a lot in getting deep sleep. Now, it's a scientific fact that you need 7 to 8 hours on average every single night. Yeah, and so I prioritize sleep. Yeah. All right. Oh my God, Paul! It's been about a month or two. Good to see you. Paul is one of my platinum students. He just graduated. He's from Barcelona, and I actually met with him when I was in Barcelona in the summer of 2018. You gave me an amazing Qatar shirt. Great to see you. He works in the e-commerce industry, and he's doing very well. You wrote, "What's up, brother? Hope you're doing fab. Likewise. My best wishes for you and your family 2024. Thank you. Same to you." And then you wrote, "Any thoughts on European ETFs this year?" Yeah. So the best source for doing research on ETFs, and I don't believe anybody should buy mutual funds. Mutual funds are a scam. The best source is what you do is you go to etfdb.com. That's etfdatabase.com. Okay, right here. And if you're not sure what investments to buy in your portfolio, I think ETFs are a safe bet, especially the VOO, ticker VOO, which is always my largest position. So what you can do is you can go to ETFs by geography here, and then you click on the country you're most interested in investing in, and you can find all the ETFs here. So let me pick, I'm going to go to Spain, because I know that's where you're from. My first girlfriend, she's Spanish, and she broke up with me because she wanted some space. So what you can do is you can click here on EWP and learn more about this. And you want the fees to be 0.5% or lower. What this means is for every $100 you put in, you're going to only pay 50 cents per year in fees. Look for much lower in this, though, if you can find it. I know the VOO, ticker VOO, is a fee of 0.03%. And then once you look at this, you want to make sure that no position is more than 10 or 15% of the portfolio. So this here looks a little bit too concentrated. Like if you invest in this particular ETF, you're going to be attached to a lot of Spanish banks like Banco Santander and others. Yeah, so I wouldn't recommend this one. I would look at ETFs where the maximum position size is 10% or less. Also, make sure that these are very liquid as well. And I'll explain what that means. So let's go together to finance.yahoo.com. And never pay for any subscription services to finance research online. You can get it all for free. And then what you do here, if this will ever load, is you enter in the ticker and you make sure, it goes EWP. Here we go. You make sure that the daily volume is very high so you can get in and out quickly if need be. So let me see the volume on this one. They just rearranged their website here. The average volume is 400,000 shares. So 400,000 times $30, for example, is $12 million worth. Yeah, so this is very liquid. And what you want to do is you want to take the number of shares times the average volume and divide it by 10. And whatever that number is, that's the maximum number of shares or a dollar amount you should buy in this security, because illiquid stocks own you in a down market instead of vice versa. Thank you. All right, Caroline, how are you? Caroline's in my silver MBA program, and she's from France originally. She lives in Ontario, and she's in the process of selling her business to a private equity firm, and she just bought a place in Nova Scotia. Great to see you. You wrote, what's your take on the EV sector? Yeah, I'm bullish longer term. But one thing I'd really be careful of when it comes to anything clean tech oriented is you don't want to invest in companies that are only relevant because of government subsidies. And speaking of Spain, back in 2008, when we were within 24 hours of bank machines not working, Spain at that point in time, I think, had the largest subsidies of any country on the planet when it comes to solar. And Spain, like many other countries at that point in time, had a credit crunch. And as a result, they got rid of a ton of subsidies on getting solar on your roof. And what happened was that led to a crash in a lot of solar stocks. So if you're going to invest in EV companies, make sure they can stand on their own 2 feet without government subsidies. Yeah. And government subsidies, it can help an industry initially, but too much subsidies is bad for companies from a Darwinistic survival of the fittest perspective. And I'll give you a great example of this. There's a great book written by Harvard Business School professor Michael Porter called Can Japan Compete, which was released around 2001. And I believe they can compete, and it's a great book. And basically what Porter analyzed was he analyzed the Japanese economy after World War II. And of course, the whole economy was in shambles, and they had to rebuild. And so what the Japanese government did back then in the late 1940s was the Japanese government created subsidies for every single sector of the economy, gave money away to help rebuild the economy, except for 2 sectors. And the 2 sectors that did not get a dime from the Japanese government were consumer electronics and autos. And if you think about the incredible Japanese companies that dominate industries, most of them, or a lot of them I should say, are autos and consumer electronics. So the bottom line is you don't want too much subsidies from a government. It's kind of like a child getting a massive allowance every year for the rest of their life. They're not going to be able to stand on their own 2 feet. Yeah. Tough love works. All right. Jahan Zib, how are you? Great to see you. And then Sam wrote, hey, Chris, hey, I own 7,000 shares of Palantir, PLTR. Yeah, so I have to disclose with Palantir, I was an investor when I worked in venture capital, and I'm now out of that position. Yeah, and I'm going to give you the positives and negatives of that company as well, just to be intellectually honest. But I'm not going to lead you down which path, meaning should you buy or not this stock, although it's an AI stock. She wrote, I own 7,000 shares of Palantir at $18.50 per share. Cool. Make sure that's not more than 5% of your liquid net worth. Max out on positions at 5% always. You wrote, what option strategy is best for us in the current market condition to make a steady, safe weekly income? I recently bought your options course. Thank you. Yeah, so in that course, I outlined 35 different strategies, and I provide you with Excel templates to calculate and price options using all the Greek variables as well. The one I'd look at for that is a married put, which means you're going to buy a put that's going to offset your exposure on the long side. Okay, and it's like an insurance product as well. Now, in terms of generating weekly income, I don't want to go there because that would involve underwriting options, right, and selling spreads, for example. And the problem with doing that, if you haven't practiced a lot, is you can lose way more than what you invested. Yeah. Okay, now in terms of Palantir, I'll talk about the pros and the cons. So Palantir, the first notable investor was the CIA. And the CIA actually invests in a ton of startups in the United States. It's called, I think it's called In-Q-Tel. That's right. Led by George Hoyam. And I met with George as well when I worked in venture capital. In-Q-Tel. And In-Q-Tel, and they call it In-Q-Tel because they love Q from the James Bond movies. But what they do is they invest in companies that could help the Department of Defense, et cetera, and government agencies in the long run. And so the CIA had a massive contract, and this is publicly disclosed, had a massive contract with Palantir. And the only reason the Obama administration was able to find Osama bin Laden was because they used Palantir's product. And Palantir's product is an AI product that will look for patterns in the data and help you to come up with solutions. Since then, since the company went public several years ago, I'm not a shareholder anymore. Since the company went public a couple of years ago, they've diversified, and they're not just focused on selling to governments. A lot of financial services companies will hire Palantir to find vulnerabilities in their IT infrastructure, for example. Now, one of the issues with Palantir, I want to be objective, is when I did due diligence on the company years ago, I found that it might never get the same profit margins as traditional software companies do. And the reason is, and they've been criticized for this, that when you deploy and implement Palantir software, one of their products is called Metropolis, the other one's called Gotham. When you do it, you need to have a ton of people feeding data into it at your company. And so the profit margins will never be as high as a traditional software company like Oracle, for example. Okay, next up, Jahanze Bro, can you tell me how I can generate leads for my consulting business? Yeah, the consulting business is very fragmented. In the United States, for example, there's over 130,000 consulting firms. And the best way to get leads is to become a thought leader. You are the brand. And so what I would do is, from a social proof perspective, I would publish lots of articles on LinkedIn and other social media platforms that show that you're a thought leader in whatever market it is you're participating in. And as I mentioned before, I published this book based on, I think it was 100 or so articles that I put on LinkedIn. Actually, I took 101 of them. And then I put it together in this book. And the way to become a thought leader is to think like one. And you got to be patient. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day. You got to be long-term greedy, as I say at Goldman Sachs, where I used to work. And I want you to publish a lot of articles on whatever sector it is in the consulting sector that you're a part of right now. What I also want you to do is this. I want you to have an incredible LinkedIn profile. And in my MBA program, I teach you exactly how to do this. Then I want you to network on steroids to get potential customers. And so what I would do is I'd think about accessing CEOs. Always go right to the top. You got nothing to lose. CEOs for whatever clients you want, and send them emails. And in the email you send them, and don't email them because nobody opens emails, but everybody in this call has opened every email you've ever gotten. In the email, you mention a couple things you have in common, and that's it. So for example, let's say that you went to McGill University, where I did, and let's say that you live in the Bay Area, which I do. And you find a CEO that lives in the Bay Area that also went to McGill. You could send a message to the CEO as follows. Subject line, hi. They're going to read it anyway with emails. And then this is the contents. Susan, or whatever the person's name is. Hope all is well. I'm also a graduate of McGill University, and I also live here in the Bay Area. Please let me know if you have time for a coffee or a quick Zoom meeting. Then you write, thanks a lot, your future boss. Thanks a lot, Chris, or whatever your name is. And you don't want to say that you're looking for a customer or a job because they won't answer. And what you do when you get that meeting, that informational meeting, is you bond with them. You talk about what you have in common for the first 10 minutes. And this goes for any job interview you're ever going to have for the rest of your life. You bond before business. And if you're not sure what to bond about, think about what you have in common with them. You know, if it's the same school you went to, you could say, it looks like that, you know, our school just opened a new student center, a new restaurant, yada, yada, whatever. And if you're not sure what to bond about, then what you can do is this. Go to their Twitter or their X profiles, as they call it, and look at who they follow. If they follow baseball players, that'd be a great baseball card picture. You can talk about baseball if you have that in common with them. You know, if they love golf, you talk about golf. Sports is great boardroom talk. And then after 10 minutes or so of that meeting, they're very nicely going to say this. And they won't say it like this way, but they'll say, why are we meeting? And they'll say it nicer than that. And then at that point, you can talk about your business that you're trying to build, etc., and how you'd love to get advice. And then ask them if they're interested in working with you, meaning as a client. Now, a lot of people feel uncomfortable about this, but you have to do it. Because the harsh reality is, for every job opening you see online, you literally have a 1 in 250 chance of getting that job. And the person that gets a job almost always knows somebody at the company. So these are the new unwritten rules of commerce online. You've got to bond and meet tons of people. If you want to work at Google, what you can do is do an informational meeting with at least 20 people at Google, that's right. And I promise you, at some point, you will get a job. You have to ask. And you can find something in common with anybody at any company, I promise you. When I was teaching in Rwanda this past summer at the school we built, I did a live case study for one of my students there. There was 100 students in the class. It was awesome. On how to network to meet people that work at Google that are from Rwanda, for example. Anybody can do it. Anybody can set up these meetings. It costs you nothing, and you have nothing to lose. And one meeting can change your life. Yeah. Okay. Liesel. Oh, hey, Liesel. Liesel is a silver student that just upgraded to my gold and platinum program. Liesel is from South Africa, and it was great chatting with you live last week. Liesel wrote, I can't believe you have 1 star on any course, Chris. Oh, I have plenty. Yeah. Perhaps comments from the competition who want to bring down your ratings. No, thank you for that. No. No, it's great when you get negative reviews because it kind of guides you from a Darwinian, educational Darwinian perspective on how to make better courses. Yeah. And if you guys want me to list tips on how to get better reviews, let me know. I can tell you exactly how it works because I've made every mistake there is to make when it comes to online teaching. Thank you. And remember this, just in life in general, unjustified criticism is often a disguised compliment. And so the next time somebody criticizes you, I want you to kind of process it differently by thinking to yourself, thank you for that criticism, because you're complimenting me. Again, unjustified criticism is a disguised compliment. So bring it on, doubters. That's what you got to say to yourself. Yeah. Perception becomes reality. I think, therefore I am. And then Motivation Station, who asked about my Excel course being on Udemy last Friday. Thank you for that question. It was a great question. Wrote here, can you share an approximate updated pricing of the HEV MBA in February? Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, prices are going up. I have to disclose that because I don't want people to be upset. I don't want to disclose, but they're going up materially. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Next up, I've got Ralph who wrote, hey, Chris, can you start your startup with 10x voting shares at the start of your company? Yeah, I know what you're talking about. So what Mark Zuckerberg did, unlike any other founder in the history of Silicon Valley, is because there was so much demand to invest in his company when it was private before the IPO in 2012. What he did was, because he had leverage and clout, he demanded that he get more voting shares than anybody else. So like super preferred shares. So you can ask for whatever you want, but most venture capital firms will probably not agree with it unless you're in a position like Zuckerberg was. Now, Zuckerberg and Facebook did exceptionally well in terms of raising capital in 2008. And the reason is because Facebook was a sure thing back then. And in 2008, when we were within 24 hours of bank machines not working, nobody wanted to invest in venture capital except for really safe investments. And so people invested in Facebook. And the same thing with Google back in 2001. 2001 was a horrific year with 9/11, et cetera. And so Google got the bulk of the VC funding that year. Yeah. But before you do something like that, I want you to talk to your lawyer. And before you sell anything or take anybody's money, you need to create an investment offering memorandum if you're going to sell a financial security. Okay. And number 1, register your company name so that you can't be sued. Okay. Unless, well, in most cases, they can't come after your family's assets. And number 2, get one of these things written as well. And lots of lawyers write these things and investment wankers. And what you can do if you want to is you can go to LegalZoom.com and pay only $35 for a half-hour call with a lawyer. And they speak really slowly during that half hour. Okay. And then Liesel wrote, please give more details about the online courses in terms of rating and tips on how to make a great online course. Absolutely. Okay, so the first thing, and I believe everybody has something to teach online, and it's the easiest side hustle ever. And as Seth Godin said, you already have everything you need to build something far bigger than yourself. You all have a camera, you all have audio, it's easy to do, and let me help you. So the criteria for getting good reviews and creating a good online course is, number 1, your delivery. Okay, anybody can teach, but you have to teach and be yourself. And as I mentioned earlier, as Maya Angelou once said, People might not remember what you said, but they'll never forget the way you made them feel. Number 2, in the first 10 minutes of the course, I want you to have an exercise that's a portable skill that somebody can take with them and say, oh my God, I learned a lot already. Number 3, make sure your course addresses a massive total addressable market and has different tracks in it, like a B for beginner track, an I for intermediate track, and a G for genius track, for example. So that you're appealing to everybody from a total addressable market perspective. Also, make sure it's professionally edited, and anybody can edit. I love to use Final Cut, and so it's simple to do. And you can always take courses online from people like Phil Ebner on Udemy on how to use products like Photoshop like Final Cut, etc. Yeah, Premiere Pro, I meant to say. Yeah, so those are just some tips. Yeah, and last thing I'll say on that is when you're teaching online, don't teach theory. Teach practical concepts that people can use immediately. And after every line in your script, ask yourself 2 words. So what? Like the Miles Davis So What song. And so what? Is this going to help my students take their career to the next level or not? Otherwise, gut it. Theory doesn't work. All right. Next up, GR Goldman. Oh my God, how are you? George, and you're in my silver program, and I think you're from New York. That's right. And I remember I gave you a refund for something last year. I exchanged emails with you. And then you wrote, hi, Chris, it's George from your silver program. I use that book format. Absolute genius you are. Thank you. God bless you. And you can all download a book template, and I don't ask for your email or anything, by going to the following website. I'll show you right now. So you go to harounmba.com/write book. I think it's all lowercase, right? Let's see here. Yeah. Download the template. It's easy to do. It's free. Anybody can write a book. All you have to know how to use is Microsoft Word and a browser. Yeah. And on the first page of that downloadable document, and the downloadable document is a 6-inch by 9-inch template for you. But on the first page, I explain in 3 bullet points how to publish for free on Amazon Print, Amazon Kindle, as well as ACX, which is audible.com. Yeah. Okay. And then Uncle Coco, first time seeing you on the call. I hope you join us again, Uncle. Wrote, what watch are you wearing? Yeah. So this is the absolute cheapest Rolex you can get. Yeah. And I bought this back in August of 2004 in New York City. Yeah. Which means I probably overpaid. But it's the cheapest one you can get. It's not gold. Yeah. Okay. And if you're going to get a watch, make sure it matches your ring. Okay. And little side note, MBA stands for Married But Available. Okay. I'm kidding. It doesn't. This never comes off. Yeah. Thanks. This one comes off so I can charge it. My Oura ring. Okay. And then Uncle Coco wrote, when is your programming class going live? It's live right now. So what you can do is, if you sign up for the MBA program, you get it for free. So go to learn.harounventures.com, and we publish the Python course, as well as the AI course, Excel course, etc. So here it is here, and I made it with Luca Anderson, who is the smartest AI expert on the planet. He's a genius. I've learned so much from him. He's a great friend as well. And this is included for free in the MBA Degree Program. And for those of you who already signed up for my Silver, Gold, or Platinum MBA Degree Program, just go to the very last lecture of whatever program you purchased, and you'll see all the electives there. And I'm adding a ton of new electives this year, a lot of technology ones, and I'm also making a real estate elective, which is not a technical course, of course. Yeah. And I promised my students, since day one, when I launched this MBA Degree Program, 5 years ago, I promised my students, as new technologies are created, that I think can enhance your career, I will work extraordinarily hard to add them to the curriculum. And that's exactly what I've done in the past year. I've added a bunch of AI courses, as well as an Excel course on how to program in Excel and how to use every feature in Excel. And I've also added the Python course, and there's many more coming. And as I think about my children, they're older now, but the technologies that they use and the way they communicate with their friends from a business perspective in the future has not been invented yet. And so what I'm going to do is whenever new technologies are created, I'm going to add them to my MBA degree program, and you get those for free forever. Yeah. And I love the color blue. And the reason I always have blue in the background here is because my grandmother, God bless her, of Irish descent, she has green eyes, and so do I. And the problem with having green eyes is that you can't do green screen, because when you do green screen, looks like you can see right into my soul. It's like black here. So what I do is I use blue instead. And a lot of very famous actors, actresses that have green eyes, they have to wear contact lenses while they're shooting if they use green screen. Too much information, Chris. All right, next up, Kevin. Hey, Kevin. Kevin wrote, hi, Chris. If somebody noticed accounting irregularities while working at a company and he raised it to management but got dismissed, then he got terminated, how can he explain that in a future interview? Ooh, yeah. Well, it's God bless whoever did that for being ethical. I think what I would probably do is, well, initially talk to a lawyer, to make sure that you're compensated if you were unfairly terminated from a whistleblower perspective. Okay, commensurate with the JP Morgan $18 million fine announced yesterday. And what I would do is go to LegalZoom.com and set up a call with a lawyer there to see if you can get, or whoever this person is, can get compensated. In terms of explaining it in an interview, I'd be careful about it, but you have to disclose it. I would say something positive about the people you work with in the company, and then after that, the negative. So you might say something along these lines, if true. Okay, and you want to be sincere. You can say, I love the people I worked with. I enjoyed the job. I humbly did well. Our team did well, but I felt uncomfortable with some of the accounting issues, which I thought were red flags and unethical. As a result, it just wasn't the right fit for me. And I voiced my concern at the company as well. And that's one of the reasons I left. And then whatever company is you're interviewing with, you can give them the impression, true of course, that you're very ethical. And if it's a different type of company and you've got a different job function, you can say, but I'm much more passionate about the role that I'm interviewing for right here, and here's why. You give plenty of examples. Yeah. And by the way, for those of you that, if you think you have a weakness in business and you think it's going to be brought up in an interview, you can always turn that weakness into a strength. And I teach you how to do that in my MBA program. But what you can also do is you can go directly to ChatGPT and type the following. I'm interviewing with a company, and I think my biggest weakness is X. Whatever it is. In 200 words or less, turn that weakness into a strength. And ChatGPT will do it. Yeah. So for example, if you think your biggest weakness is you don't have much experience, you're young, this is your first job, you can turn that into a strength by saying, I bring a fresh perspective to the company. From a social media perspective, I understand my demographic and my age group when it comes to online marketing, etc. And if anybody else has a weakness you want to disclose here or perceived weakness, let me know, and I promise you I'll turn into a perceived strength right now. All right. Next up, Jordan. Jordan wrote, hi, Chris. Jordan from Taiwan. Great to see you. You wrote, I just finished your options course on Udemy. It's really awesome. Thank you. And I'm just wondering, is it possible to backtest an option strategy? Any advice? Yeah, absolutely. But I think the one thing you want to really pay close attention to is the historical volatility versus the implied volatility. And I calculate historical volatility for you using 35 different option strategies in the mini Excel templates I provide you with in that course that you purchased. And sophisticated options investors, they usually make a lot of money by understanding how implied volatility is either overvalued or undervalued, overstated or understated, relative to historical volatility. Yeah, and if you have follow-ups based on that, let me know, please. Yeah, but again, as I mentioned earlier, I don't want anybody to underwrite options. I want you to just think about maybe buying puts or calls and practice for at least 6 months first, please. Yeah. And I mentioned earlier to use the application for free from TD Ameritrade called Thinkorswim. It might not work for you in Taiwan, but you can use a VPN and use it that way as well, just for testing purposes for a paper portfolio. And then Sam wrote, what are your thoughts on Rabbit R1? It's an AI-powered gadget that can use your apps for you. And how can one invest in this type of company if it's not public yet? Yeah, it's almost impossible to invest in private companies unless you invest through a venture capital firm. And I want you to be careful about investing in private companies because you're a stockholder, right? These are illiquid investments, and most of these investments go to zero. Yeah. But just to be really careful. One way you might be able to do it is to purchase shares from somebody that works for the company that's leaving. Now, if you're going to do that, and this is what I did when I worked in venture capital, Peter Thiel's firm, Founders Fund, we wanted to invest in Palantir. And so the board and Peter Thiel approved it, but they had an ROFR in place, which means right of first refusal. You got to get board approval for that. Yeah. But if you're interested in publicly traded companies that are going to use AI-based mobile technologies, you can look into Google. Google hasn't done the best job so far when it comes to Bard or AI technologies, but it's something they're looking at closely. In fact, yesterday it was announced that Samsung and Google are partnering on adding AI functionality to their handsets. Yeah. Okay. All right. And give me 1 second. Great questions, guys. Hold on a second here. Okay, and then Jason wrote, if you're looking for Thinkorswim for a new account, you'll have to go to Schwab now. Just a heads. Oh, I didn't know that. Did Schwab's buy TD Ameritrade? I had no idea. Thank you. This is how I learn. When one teaches, two learn. And then Ralph wrote, do you teach everything about the market in the MBA? I cover 6 main pillars, covering everything you can possibly want to know about business. And those 6 pillars quickly are as follows: entrepreneurship, finance and accounting, sales, marketing, and communications, economics, management, and strategy, personal development, personal growth, which is my favorite part, and technology, which I added over the past year. Yeah. And everything there is basically not theoretical. It's practical, so you can use it to take your career to the next level immediately. And I tell all my students, and I have since day one, that there is not only a 30-day 100% money-back guarantee, which no other MBA programs have, I don't think, but I also say this. If you're not getting at least a 10x return on your investment in the first 30 days, I want you to ask for your money back. Yeah. And then Ludo, hey Ludo, first time seeing you on the call. I hope you join us again. Ludo wrote, hi teacher, I follow you from Udemy. Thank you. I love Udemy. Okay, Pierre, great to see you, who goes by D. Uteron. Yeah. And Pierre, earlier on the call, when I said my pet rock here is called Pierre, I wasn't talking about you. It's just Pierre in French is rock. Yeah. I'm just kidding. Okay. All right. Next up, Kevin wrote, hey, Chris, in terms of starting an online business, how about becoming a digital writer, like write email newsletters on certain topics, post on LinkedIn, etc., and then try to monetize at some point? Yeah. Yeah, the way I think about that is you want to work smarter and not harder by repurposing content. So whatever articles you create, I want you to make TikToks about that article as well, and YouTube videos about that article as well, etc. And whatever social media product is going to be in vogue or in fashion in the future as well. You might be interested in a career actually in copywriting as well, and maybe PR. And what I recommend as the next step for you in terms of turning this into a side hustle is go to Fiverr.com. That's Fiverr.com. And also go to Upwork.com and do a search for copywriter and see how much those people charge as being copywriters. And then start your career doing that on the side. It's a great side hustle. Yeah. And it's great because there's no inventory issues at all. High margin services business. Okay. And then Mindful Success Daily. Oh, I love that name. MSD wrote, I just joined. Were you talking about a course you have on how to publish on Amazon for free? Yeah. I was talking about a book. Yeah. How to create a book and put it online for free. And so if you want a book template, go to the following website, harounmba.com, all lowercase, one word, write book. And I teach you how to write a book for free. Yeah. So you can publish on Amazon Kindle, Print, and ACX, which is Amazon's Audible product. And then you wrote, oh my God, your t-shirt logo is how I sign emails and what I use for marketing. Very cool. I love it. And I actually bought the website. So if you go to day1notoneday.com, it'll lead you to my MBA page to purchase my MBA program. And I bought all renditions of this as well, that website. Yeah. Okay. Ludo wrote, can you tell your story? You worked at Goldman Sachs and Citadel. What did you do? Yeah. So initially at Goldman Sachs, so I interned back in 1998. I started on August 31st. I remember that. I was so nervous, man. I remember when I started working there on the trading floor, I thought to myself, if I say nothing, they'll think I'm dumb. But if I talk, they'll just know I'm dumb. But I was really, really nervous. And what helped me get over my nervousness, and I was a bit more techie at that point in time. I was kind of a programmer, like a brain on a stick or just a stick. And so I wasn't as confident when it came to social interactions. That scared me. And so I told myself a couple things before I started. I told myself, God already knows what's going to happen, which would put me at ease. And I gave myself 3 pieces of advice. I said, Chris, during this internship, focus on 3 things. Meet people, have fun, and learn. And I loved it. And during that initial internship, there was about 20 of us, 5 from Columbia Business School where I went, and 15 from Harvard Business School. And I humbly was the only one to get a full-time offer. And it was during a hiring freeze too. But I worked incredibly hard. I networked like crazy as well, which is why I love teaching my students about networking. Now, when I worked there, I think it was October 31st, 1998, the firm Goldman, we took eBay public. And it was unbelievable because I saw Pierre Omidyar on the trading floor at 10 a.m. one day in late 1998, kissing his girlfriend and high-fiving Meg Whitman, the CEO at the time, who was Adult Supervision, or new CEO brought in. And the traders went nuts because he became a billionaire right then, that day. It was pretty cool. What I also did was I worked on the largest IPO in history, which was the NTT Docomo IPO, ticker, I think it's 7974 is the ticker on that one. Yeah. So, so it was fun. I absolutely loved it. Yeah. And then I joined Goldman Sachs full time. So initially I did Japanese equities, and then I did US and Canadian equities as well. And I left Goldman in 2003, and I did it because I wanted to become an investor. So I went from the sell side to the buy side, and I worked for various hedge funds, including Citadel, Pequot, as well as Kingdon. Then I started my own as well. And I love the hedge fund space initially, but I found that it was a little bit too short-term focused, and I wanted to do something longer term. So what I did was I turned my hedge funds into a hybrid product, hedge fund / venture capital firm where I invested in Facebook, my hedge fund, before it was public. Yeah. And one thing that made me unhappy in the hedge fund industry was October of 2008. The stock market was down 20 or 30%, and my fund, my company was up 3 or 4%. We had a great month. But it was depressing for me because I came into work every day hoping that banks would announce that they're going bankrupt, because I was short all those stocks. And it was just kind of depressing for me. So I wanted to become a long-term investor, and I switched over to venture capital. And then when I worked in venture capital in 2016 on the side, I would teach and volunteer in East Palo Alto, where the high school graduation rate is 40%. And then I got up one day, I was like, you know what? Screw it, let's do it, as Richard Branson says. And I just quit and became a teacher. Yeah. And Udemy changed my life. And Udemy can change your life too. I don't get any brownie points for saying this because Udemy is an algorithm. If my courses suck, many of them do, they won't sell. But I want you all to teach online on Udemy. And everybody has something to teach. Let me know what you're passionate about, and I can help you learn how to teach on Udemy. And if you're not sure what you should teach, and if you're not sure what your next job should be, I want you to do this exercise. Pretend that for the next 30 days, I tell you, you can't travel. You can't work. You can't go to school. What are you going to do with your time? Whatever that is, not only should that be your profession, no matter what anybody says, but that is something you should teach about. And as I mentioned earlier, Ninja, he who plays Fortnite and streams it, makes millions. He started out teaching on Udemy on how to use Twitch years ago. All right. Next up, Fundamental Trader Society. I wrote, hey, Chris, Kelvin here from Florida. Great to see you, and thank you for upgrading from silver to the platinum MBA program. Kelvin is originally from Puerto Rico. He lives in Florida now. He worked at Apple, and he's interested in the finance industry. You wrote, I'm curious, you know so much about so many different topics. What books or courses are you learning right now for business or personal growth? Yeah. So when it comes to business, it's pretty simple for me. What I do every day when I'm showering in the morning is I do this. Alexa, what's the Wall Street Journal news today?
From the Wall Street Journal.
Alexa, stop. And it's 20 minutes and it highlights everything. And this way I work smarter, not harder. In terms of books I'm listening to the Elon Musk book right now. Alexa, read my book. Alexa, read my book.
Getting your selection from Audible. Resuming principles for dealing with the changing world order.
Alexa, stop. That was a Ray Dalio book I purchased as well. But I am currently doing the Elon Musk book, which you all have to read or listen to the Audible version. It's by Walter Isaacson, who's brilliant. Yeah. All right. And another way I learn is just by questions. You know, I have a gazillion students. I have over 1.5 million students all over the world. And I get tons of questions, which keeps me on my toes always and keeps me current. Yeah. All right. Next up, Jonas wrote, hey, Professor Chris, hey. What are some of the best ways that startups can advertise their product and get it out there in the beginning stages? Yeah, a couple of things. Number one, Reid Hoffman, who's a brilliant co-founder of LinkedIn and now a venture capitalist at Greylock. He said, if you release your product when it's ready, you've missed the market. So don't strive for perfection. You know, as Salvador Dali said, if you strive for perfection, you'll never reach it. I want you to be comfortable releasing a product that's not perfect. Okay, and you can always release an MVP or a minimum viable product. And make sure that whatever product is you're going to release, and if you want, you can tell me what the product is so I can help you. I want you to use social media to get free advertising for it. And the best way to think about how to scale a business is think about, number one, how are you helping your customer? And number two, how are you educating the market as well? If you give, you will receive. It's prophetic. It's been true since the beginning of time. So think about what you're giving away for free initially. And also think about customer service. You know, Jeff Bezos once said, a company is only as good as its customer service, and that profitability and customer service are 100% correlated in the long run. And that's how you're going to beat the big companies, by saying you have much better hands-on customer service. Getting hungry. All right. And before anybody starts a company, I want you to write a complete business plan. And in my MBA degree program, what I've got is a venture capital boot camp in the third semester, where I teach you how to start a company based on my experience in VC, starting companies, sitting on boards, etc. But failing to plan is plan to fail. Write a full business plan first. And the way that you know you have a great business model that has a decent probability of making it is if you finish the business plan. If you start working on the business plan, and in my MBA program, I ask you 700 or 800 questions about your business, which you document in the templates I give you. If you start working on the business plan, and after 10 or 20 questions I ask you, you answer. If you tell yourself, you know what, maybe this is not a good idea, then quit and move on to write another business plan for another company. Always write a full business plan. Because if you don't do that, it can destroy your life. If you launch a company before writing a business plan, you know, it can destroy your finances, destroy your health. It can also destroy your relationships with family members, and it's game over. So remember, failing to plan is plan to fail. Write that business plan first. Yeah. And I'm here to humbly help my students start companies. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And then Calipita wrote, first time I've seen you on the call, hope you join us again. Thank you. Wrote, I really appreciate your consistency and diligence in engaging with the audience over the years on your live sessions. Thank you. Your openness and willingness to help have been incredibly useful. Thank you so much. In terms of consistency, I am consistently bad. Yeah. But showing up is half of it, right? And then Calipita wrote, a few years ago, in 2018, I asked a question here in the chat. Should I start my master's degree or gain professional experience to go to work? You said do both. Yeah. I took that advice to heart and combined those two things. Although it wasn't easy, now over 5 years, I'm working 2 jobs in a bank on anti-fraud projects and in the cybersecurity domain. I wanted to thank you for that tip. It pushed me out of my comfort zone, but it was worth it. Thank you. God bless you for that. Thank you. And congratulations. Yeah. And that's my goal. That's why I do what I do. I think of myself as your humble waiter. Okay. You're all my customers. And when you go to a restaurant, you see the whole menu. This is where I proposed to my wife years ago. You see the whole menu and you only choose 1 or 2 things. And that's what I think in terms of what I do. I expose you the whole menu of business opportunities and careers, and you pick what you're most passionate about. Yeah. And if you want to get the souffle, you got to order 20 minutes in advance. Yeah. All right. All right, I think I fixed the issue. Sorry. And I do have a backup Wi-Fi network just in case. Okay, we're good to go. All right, so your question was on how do I contact venture capital firms like Sequoia or others? Yeah, I don't want you to do it yet. I want you to, first of all, write a full business plan. And then I want you to get high net worth investors to invest in your company. Don't contact VC firms initially. And the reason I say that is because when you talk to high net worth investors, the sales cycle is quite short. Right? It can be a couple weeks of meetings with a high net worth investor before you get them to consider investing or not. And they're not investing in your business, they're investing in you. When it comes to venture capital firms, they usually want you to have at least a couple of seed investors or high net worth investors first and a proven business model or at least an MVP, a minimum viable product. And when you meet with venture capital firms, and it's not hard getting those meetings, but just know that the probability of them investing is low, and they all talk to their buddies that work at other VC firms. Did you see this dude that started this company on X? What'd you think? Yeah, me too. You got 1 shot at it. So don't do it right away. But once your business is up and running, meaning you've got a couple of investors, then what you can do is you can reach out to big venture capital firms. Don't reach out to Sequoia initially, right? You don't want to blow it with the most important venture capital firm in history. Reach out to smaller ones first as practice interviews, so to speak. Yeah, and I was on the board of a company that called Cohesity, where the venture capital firm I was at, we led the Series B. I was on the board for a while. Sequoia led the Series A. So I spent a lot of time at Sequoia's headquarters, and they're amazing. The top 10 venture capital firms in the world, 1% of their investments are unicorns, meaning billion-dollar companies. With Sequoia, it's 5%. It's unbelievable. And I had the opportunity to sit down with Doug Leone, who is the best venture capitalist in history at Sequoia. And I remember talking to him about what do you look for in a company? And he always says management team. The jockey's more important than the horse. And I can go into more detail on that if you want me to. Yeah. I also met with everybody in the sector. Yeah. Okay. All right. Give me 1 second to catch up here. Mindfulness wrote, great tip. Thank you. Moving on to Devon, who wrote, hi, what is the best education to work as a trader in any hedge fund, please? Yeah. You don't have to go to a top school to get into Wall Street, right? There are plenty of people that have gone to non-top 10 schools that have gotten in. You just have to be able to network like crazy and be aggressive and be like a pit bull in a pork chop. Never give up. And so what I recommend doing is in my MBA degree program, I provide you with all the templates you need to get a job at any company, all the tools and templates. And one of them, and if you meet me in real life, I'm a tiny person. But one of the templates is a 1-page write-up on how to analyze a company to pitch as a long or short by analyzing 3 things on 1 page: fundamentals, valuation, and technical analysis. So what I would do is I would network like crazy over LinkedIn, get informational meetings with people that work at hedge funds, have something in common with you. And during that meeting, after you bond with them, I want you to pull out one of those write-ups. And when I was interviewing to work at hedge funds, what I did was I created tons of one-page write-ups, like the one I provide my students in my MBA degree program. And depending on how the interview was going, I would pull out that write-up as well. And I remember I interviewed with Citadel, a big hedge fund, in, I think it was August of 2004. And I had a meeting with Carson Levitt, who was the co-founder of Citadel's equity division. He used to work for George Soros too. And during the interview, he asked me about Salesforce.com, which just went public in the summer 2004. And I had a one-pager I brought out on Salesforce. And then he asked me about a competitor during that interview called Right Now, tickers RNOW, which Oracle bought eventually. And I pulled out a one-pager on that. So I had a ton of that, a ton of those tools in my toolbox, and I was ready. And he said humbly, this is the best interview he's ever conducted. And what I'll do is, with Carson Levitt, you know what I'll do is I'll ask him to join this webcast. You can ask him questions. He was George Soros' right-hand man at Soros Fund Management. He joined Soros in the summer of 1999. Soros was down 15%, and he got the firm back to break even by December 1st of 1999. And then he made 40% in the month of December. This is all publicly disclosed. In the month of December of 1999 for Soros. And Soros was up a lot in the year because of him. And the way he did that was he made $1 billion in one stock in 1 month, which was Qualcomm. I'll bring him onto the call. We'll interview him as well. He was a child prodigy as well. He was on the Merv Griffith show and tons of other TV shows when he was a kid pitching stocks as well. Yeah. And he worked at Fidelity and the Magellan Fund. Yeah. And if you guys want me to bring in more people to interview on this weekly, let me know. I interviewed 5 or 6 people in the second half of last year, including top Wall Street analysts, venture capitalists, etc. Let me know. You guys are the customer. You guide me, please. Okay. And then Mindful Success Daily, MSD, wrote, hey, Chris, I'm in your crypto course, and I downloaded the course Excel sheet a few times, but the drop-down boxes don't work for me. I'm on a Mac. They should work. I've thoroughly tested it. What I recommend is this. Don't use Excel spreadsheets with OneDrive. I mean, Microsoft's cloud-based offering. Always have it on your C drive. And if you're still having issues with it that way, and C drive on the Mac is the same thing, send a screen print to support@harounventures.com, and I'll personally answer that query today. Thank you. Okay, and I am using ChatGPT for my customer support now, and I pay $20 a month to a company called chatbase.co, I think. And if you go to my website, which is harounmba.com, and I'm going to get my face off in the corner. It's like a hockey term. I'm Canadian though. But in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see here, there's a chat bot. And I put in 11 million characters of FAQs people can possibly ask me, including stuff from my MBA degree program, the closed caption. So try this out if you want to, and provide me with feedback as well on this. Thank you. We all have to embrace AI, man. Yeah. All right. And if I miss anybody's question, you can either type it again or make sure you don't include hyperlinks. For some reason, YouTube gets rid of that for some reason. Yeah. Yeah. And I want to disclose something. I got a warning from YouTube a year or two ago. And I kept it private, but I want to share with you because I'm fully transparent, and transparency builds trust. Let me show you what the warning was. Okay. All right. So I got a warning. So the way it works on YouTube is if you get 3 strikes, you're out. I've never had a strike, but I had a warning. And the warning was this. Okay. So it was November 11, 2022. I had somebody who's a doctor come onto one of my calls, and he talked about his views on the healthcare issue that was in the world back in 2020. And because of that, I actually got a warning. And what YouTube has since done is they make anybody that's gotten a warning take a training course, which basically is 10 questions, and they'll remove this warning. So this warning is going to be removed in 5 days, but I want to show it to you before it's removed. You guys will never see that I was warned, but I was. In the interest of full disclosure, I disclose everything. Yeah. Okay. I did get vaccinated though. Yeah. All right. Okay. Next up, pontification. Wrote down what his or her weakness is. And earlier on, I asked you to let me know your weakness so I can turn it into a strength in an interview. So you wrote here, the weakness is I give too much information when presenting. To me, the information is needed, but to executives, they want less. The so what test is difficult for me to answer. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you're asking about presenting in general. Yeah. So there's something called the rule of thirds. And Steve Jobs talked a lot about this. The most beautiful pictures usually have three levels, right? Like there's the ocean one, there's the sky, the ocean, the beach. And the same thing with how our brain processes information. When you present, never have more than 3 bullet points per slide, ever. Okay? No more than 3 bullet points per slide. And if you can, replace those bullet points with images because we are much more visual. And what you can also do is you can learn how to use transition words to tie your logic together. For example, transition words include moving on to, in terms of, the bottom line is. And as you think of what to say next, use those transition words. And as you say those transition words, it helps you buy time. And if you're stuck and you're like, oh my God, I don't know what to say next, look at your slides. You can say moving on to bullet point 2, whatever, and just talk about whatever. Keep it short also. Okay. And if you find that you're rambling, immediately as a crutch, say this. And the bottom line is yada, 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 or moving on to, and move on to the next topic. Yeah. Keep your answers short as well. And you can practice this stuff. You know, as Tony Robbins said, repetition is the mother of all skill. And you can practice your presentations. You can practice with me here if you want to. I'll turn on Zoom and we can practice together. Yeah. And use a lot of props as well. I love to use props when I teach. It's fun. Okay. All right, next up, Robert wrote, I'm trying to learn / become a data analyst, data scientist. Do you think ChatGPT 4 Turbo is worth the cost? If not ChatGPT, which LLM, which means large language model, would you recommend? Yeah. Yeah, I would say if you're not going to use ChatGPT and you don't want to pay for ChatGPT 4, which is $20 per month, then you can use Bing Chat because Bing Chat uses ChatGPT 4 anyway. Yeah. But what I love about ChatGPT is it's one of the best products out there if you want to upload documents as well. But my absolute favorite AI product or LLM is Claude.ai, made by Anthropic. And what you can do with Claude.ai is you can upload 5 or 6 PDFs if you want to, as long as they're less than 10 megs. And you can ask Claude.ai to analyze or extract information from that. So for example, I uploaded 4, I think it was, 10Ks, annual reports from Microsoft. And I asked Claude.ai to go to all 4 of those annual reports, the 10Ks, and create an income statement based on data from each year for the past 4 or 5 years, whatever it was. Yeah. But always double check everything because these large language models are confidently wrong and they hallucinate a lot. Yeah. And so whenever I use ChatGPT, what I make sure to do is to use custom instructions. Let me show you what that means. Okay, so let's go here to ChatGPT here. Okay. All right. So what I do here is I go here to custom instructions, and then I enter in custom instructions here. So always provide internet link sources, for example, and that way you can double check everything. If you use Bard, and Bard's not available in Canada and in many countries in Europe, but you can also click on the Google icon to find out the source of that information. Always back check this stuff because AI can be pretty dangerous if it misleads you, which quite often it does. Yeah. Ralph wrote, what is the TAM, meaning total addressable market, for electricity for the whole world? Yeah. So before you start a company, you're asking the right questions. You want to make sure that the TAM, the total addressable market, is at least $20 billion. And I say that because great venture capital firms I partner with, like Kleiner Perkins, quite often they won't invest in a company if the size of the total addressable market isn't at least 20 billion. And the reason is, if highly unlikely, but if the company they invest in gets 5% share of a $20 billion market, then that's $1 billion in annual revenue. Now, in terms of how to find the total addressable market for any industry, I recommend 2 things. Number 1, get a list of the top 25 publicly traded companies in a sector. Maybe it could be regulated utility companies like Pacific Gas and Energy, for example. And then get the revenue for all 25 companies and add it up. And that's a good enough proxy for the size of the market. The second way is you can use consulting firm reports, which I'm going to do in a second for you, from firms like McKinsey, Boston Consulting Group, Bain, Accenture, etc. So here's how you do it. So you go total addressable, actually I'm going to go TAM, electricity, market, McKinsey. McKinsey is the best consulting firm in history. Okay. Let's see here. And let me type here in brackets, total addressable market. Okay. And I'm going to put a plus here. So brackets keeps all the letters together. And then it has to include total addressable market and McKinsey. All right. And I would go through these reports here, and it might tell you what the total addressable market is for the electricity market. Yeah. For example, it talks here about the electric vehicles market here, for example. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't want to spend too much time on this because I might not be able to find it, but this is how I would go through it. And you don't have to use McKinsey. You can just say total addressable market, electricity market, and make sure it's a reliable source that comes back. So for example, if you go to, let's see, the Corporate Finance Institute or One Energy, you might be able to get it there. Yeah. Oh, here we go. $8 trillion addressable market. This is from NASDAQ. It's a good source. Actually, Motley Fool is not the best source, but let's see here. Okay. $8 trillion addressable market here. And that's just wind and sun. So anyway, those are just ideas. And the best way to calculate the TAM, if you're not sure, again, is to get the top 25 companies in a given sector, look at the annual reports of all 25, and get the revenue for all 25 companies. That's a good enough proxy. And in the tech sector, it's usually 3 or 4 companies that dominate. So 25 is overkill. Okay. Okay. And then Devon wrote here, Chris, you're my motivation. Oh, thank you. God bless you. You all inspire me so much. I love doing what I'm doing. I really look forward to this every day. And the way you know you found your passion in life is if you're on vacation and you look forward to getting back to work. Now, I love spending time with my family. And I went to Hawaii, went to Oahu with Christine and my 3 sons. It was great. But I missed you guys. Yeah. And every morning, in order to get me into a peak mental state, I always thank God for 10 things in this order. Andrew, Matthew, Dylan, my kids, Christine, my wife, my mom, my dad, my brother, Jamie, Katie, Elizabeth, my sisters, and you, my students. I'm grateful. Yeah. You wrote, you're a great teacher. Thank you. And then you wrote, while trading Forex pairs, is interest rate parity the best for valuing the Forex pair future price? In a while ago, Euro USD was trading at 1.11, not at par. Yeah. I'm probably not the right person to ask about that. I'm not a proponent of trading. I like to be a long-term investor. And I caution you, I say this with love in my heart because I care, not to trade currencies. And the reason I say that is because currency prices go up and down for stuff outside of your control. It could be saber rattling between Russia and the United States, or what's happened in the Red Sea in the past couple of days. We just don't know. We can't forecast that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right, moving on to Sam, who wrote, thanks, Chris, you're most welcome. One more question. Sure. How is your MBA program different compared to others? And will I get a certification or an official degree on completion? Yeah, if you want to learn more about the MBA program, go to my YouTube channel, and the featured video is a webinar that I did last Friday, January 12th, on the MBA. In terms of certification and how it differs, yeah. So upon completion, you get this. Yeah. And it's sent to you in PNG format. Yeah. And in terms of how it differs, it all comes down to why I wrote this book. Business schools don't teach you the most important lessons in life, and my MBA product does. For example, business schools don't teach you how to present. That's important, right? I teach you that in the MBA program. Business schools don't teach you how to sell. Nothing's more important. I teach you that. Business schools don't teach you how to network, which I teach you. They don't teach you how to interview. They don't teach you how to get customers. They don't teach you how to manage your own money. They teach you how to manage other people's money. It's true. I teach you how to manage your own money and OPM, other people's money as well, in the MBA Degree Program. Business schools are way too theoretical as well, and they teach you stuff that was relevant literally last century, as Seth Godin says. It's true. I teach you everything that's relevant, everything that's going to take your career to the next level immediately. Also, my MBA Degree Program has a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee. Other schools don't have that. Yeah. Now, I will never make this program accredited, because if I did, then government agencies will tell me what I can and cannot teach. And I don't want to teach theory. It would be a disservice to all of you. Yeah. And if you have additional questions about my MBA Degree Program, you can go to the following website. And I'll move on to the next question in a second. And that website is here. Let's go to harounmba.com/ all lowercase FAQ. Right here. Yeah. Yeah. And if you want, you can set up a call with me as well by clicking this link here, 20-minute Zoom meeting with me. And as I mentioned before, and I am disclosing this, my prices are going up materially starting in February. So my prices will never be this low again, but I have to disclose that. Yeah. Transparency builds trust, I think. Okay. Next up, Jonas wrote, thanks, Professor. You're most welcome. In terms of product type right now, I'm in software development. I also just started your Silver MBA. I'm psyched. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Very cool. And every single Thursday, the second this call is done in 28 minutes at 10 a.m. my time, I have a 1-hour Zoom call with my Silver MBA students. And to get access to that link, just go to the first lecture of your Silver MBA. Then after that 1-hour call is done, I then do a 2-hour call weekly with my Gold and Platinum students. And then after that 2 hours, I do one-on-ones with my Platinum students. Yeah. Okay. And then Vladimir. Oh, Vladimir wrote, Chris, you're awesome. Great to see you. Habibi, great to see you. Vladimir's from Russia originally. I think your wife is from Egypt, my people. And he lives I think you're in Minnesota. Yeah, great to see you, man. Great to see you. I hope you're doing well. I miss you. And I called you, I remember calling you Vladdy, because of my love and admiration for Vladimir Guerrero, who we call Vladdy, who plays for the Toronto Blue Jays. Yeah. Good to see you, brother. Yeah. Okay. And then Nadeem wrote, do you think a BBA, a Bachelor of Business Administration in economics, is worth it? Yeah. So whenever you're thinking about going to university or getting a graduate degree or whatever it is, before you do it, I always want to ask yourself, why do you want it? And if the answer is because you want to change careers to get a job in a different sector, then before going to business school or undergrad, whatever it is, I want you to set up 100, that's right, informational meetings with people that work in the sector you want to work at. And if after 100 informational meetings you still can't make that career change, then go to school. And if you think 100 meetings is overkill, well, I want you to think of it this way. Imagine each meeting costs you $1,000 or saves you $1,000. Well, 100 meetings times $1,000 is $100,000. And that's the cost of a traditional MBA program or undergraduate degree. Another thing you can do is find people on LinkedIn after you do the 100 meetings. Find people on LinkedIn that are living your dream life, meaning career-wise, and look to see what educational background they have, if anything. And networking is more important than anything, I promise you. And a lot of people get frustrated because, when they're younger, they're in school, they get good grades, and they keep their head down, get good grades, and their family is proud of them, and they're proud of themselves. And then they enter the workforce, and they keep their head down, they work really hard, work for them when they were undergrad or high school. They work really, really hard, And then all of a sudden, they look around and they notice, hey, why are other people that aren't as good as me getting promoted and raises faster than me? Well, the reason is because they networked more than you and they asked. Ask and you'll receive. It's prophetic. It's been true since the beginning of time. If you want anything, you got to ask. And the secret is anybody that gets promoted or raised at a company or anybody who's vice president level or above, what they've done behind closed doors is they've asked multiple times for a raise or a promotion. If you don't ask, you don't get. And I had one platinum student who grew up in the ghetto. He told me, and also he said he learned this through his growing up in tough times. He said, closed mouths don't get fed. Ask and you'll receive. It's prophetic. It's been true since the beginning of time. In previous webcasts, I've explained how to ask for a raise or promotion. If you want me to go there again today, let me know. You're the customer. You can guide me in that direction. Okay. And then MSD, Mindfulness Success Daily, wrote, thanks, Chris. Sure, I'll test your chatbot and email you feedback. Thank you. Thank you. You can even type the feedback directly in that because I get a daily report from chatbase.io on that. Yeah, thank you. Okay, and then you wrote, I hung out with Carlos Slim. Oh my God, that is so amazing. He was I think the big shareholder of Telmex. And he actually, I think he was Carlos Slim, I think he was the richest man in the world for a period of time in Mexico, though. Yeah. I hung out with Carlos Slim at a cafe, and he said the reason Apple is successful is because of good management. Fascinating. It's so true. A company is only as good as its customer service and the management team as well. And Steve Jobs was a quintessential salesperson, God bless him. And Tim Cook is an amazing operator as well. People don't understand that he's been in the company forever. And he was COO for ages. And he understands supply chain better than anybody on the planet. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. If Carlos Slim shared anything else with you, let me know, please. And if you want to come onto Zoom right now, send me a message if you want to talk and just share with us what you learned from Carlos Slim. If not, you can just type it here or don't. It's completely up to you. But I am fascinated to hear about this. Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. And I think Carlos Slim is Lebanese, and I'm part Lebanese as well. And I remember I met with John Mack, who is the CEO of Morgan Stanley, Chairman Emeritus. And I mentioned I was Lebanese when I was bonding with him in that meeting. And after that meeting in New York, he sent me this. He sent me a nice note about this. Yeah, really cool. Like I'm 25% Lebanese. Yeah. And then Nathan wrote, can you make your Python course available on Udemy ? Yeah, I will do that. Yeah, I'll do it next month. Yeah. And the Python course also includes, this is crazy, a 900-page book version of the course as well. Yeah. And if anybody is taking the Python course, which is only available just for now on my website, if you have any feedback, if you see any editing issues, etc., please send a message to support@harounventures.com. Yeah, I released it quickly. I spent 500 hours just editing the videos. That's right. Just the editing of the videos. Yeah, and Luca Annison, who's a brilliant man, who I partner with also on the Complete Artificial Intelligence course. He spent about 2 months in my house this year recording stuff. He came on 2 trips. He's a good guy. Okay. All right. And then Devon wrote, is the MBA course, is this the MBA course? Want to start? Please guide me. Sure. If this is the entire MBA 1 course. No. The one I'm referring to is actually on my website. Just go to harounmba.com/FAQ. So an entire MBA 1 course is a course that's on Udemy. That's 7.5 hours long. The MBA degree program I'm referring to, my silver, gold, and platinum one, is hundreds and hundreds of hours. Yeah. Okay. But Udemy and my website, we have a 30-day money-back guarantee as well. So you got nothing to lose, everything to gain. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And then Motu wrote, how do you become an investment banker for an Indian computer science graduate in New York City. Yeah. Yeah. It all comes down to networking. So here's what I would do. In my MBA program in the first semester, I teach you how to network on steroids. I also, if you're in my platinum version, I write your entire LinkedIn profile myself. And I promise you, you will get a lot of informational meetings with top investment banks. I guarantee it, or your money back. And just to prove to you that my methodology humbly works, a year and a half or 2 years ago, I had a student in my platinum program who applied what I taught him to LinkedIn networking, etc. And halfway through my platinum MBA program, he got a job offer at Goldman Sachs in investment banking at the associate level. And in his start class there at Goldman Sachs were Harvard MBA degree students or graduates as well. It works. Yeah, it works. So what I would do is I would try to network and find one or two things you have in common with people that work at investment banks. For example, say you want to work at JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs, for example. Do an advanced search in LinkedIn and find two things in common. And you mentioned that you're from India. And so what I would do is I would search for people that work at those two aforementioned firms in New York City and LinkedIn, do an advanced search, that went to the same school as you, like the IIT or whatever it is in India. And IIT is great. It's like MIT, but there's 5 of them and they're better than MIT. And then find one other thing you have in common as well. And then send them an email. And if you want, actually, what you can do, if you don't want to sign up for my my MBA program, you can download this book for free called Networking to Get Customers, a Job, or Anything You Want. And this will help you with your informational meetings as well. And the way you access this is you just go to my website, harounmba.com, and then scroll down through all this propaganda here. I'm just kidding. Scroll down through all this stuff here, and it's right down here. Yeah, and you can get the book here. Yeah. And if you download it, some people will say that they can't find it. It might be in your junk folder as well. Yeah. Or email support@harounventures.com, and we'll send it to you. And then Renee wrote greetings from the Netherlands. Yeah, and it was a pleasure talking to you this week. I think we had a call yesterday or the day before. Yeah, great to see you. Yeah, and I hope you join the program. Yeah. And then Mindfulness wrote, yes, he is Lebanese. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, Carlos Slim. And then you wrote, I just moved apartments, and so my hair is a mess. I can't hop on a Zoom call right now. Yeah, all good. All good. And because I'm fully disclose everything, in order to make sure I don't lose my hair, I've been using this for years. And this here, it's got red light therapy. And I wear this for for 6 minutes every single day. I'm sure a lot of the stuff I do is placebos. It's low on battery. I got to charge it. Yeah. Okay. All right. And then Sam wrote, thanks very much, Chris. This session was extremely informative. Excellent information. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah. It's fun. Next up, Nathan wrote, is there an age ceiling on entry level in investment banking? Technically, no. And I think that from a politically correct perspective, I think in the next 5 years, there's going to be a massive movement to combat ageism, because the average life expectancy globally is now 26 years longer than it was back in the 1950s. And there are many people in this call who are going to make it to 150. And there's many students of mine that are reinventing themselves at 50 or 60. I turned 52 on February 2nd. The older I got, the better I was. And the average age for somebody starting a company in the United States, for example, is my age. Ageism shouldn't be an issue. In fact, I think it can help you stand out, because not as many older people, I put that in quotes, might be applying to that job. Just be prepared to talk about why your unique life experiences can help you in terms of that role. And if you want to enter into the training program in investment banking, whatever it is, what I would articulate also in the interview is that there's no hubris when it comes to your thought process on starting at the bottom. And you're the quintessential team player, etc. And if you have more questions on any investment bank and how to interview there, I will tell you exactly how to do it. And when I worked at Goldman, actually, I was on the recruiting team there as well. I volunteered to interview people. I interviewed tons of people. And I've conducted over 1,000 interviews in my life. I know it sounds like a lot, but that's 1 per week for 20 years. Yeah. Okay, and then Sue wrote, hi from Johannesburg, South Africa. Great to see you. I have a lot of students from South Africa. Yeah. And then Mark wrote, hey, brother, shout out to the global MBA family. Great to see you. And so Tones is Mark, and he is from Michigan. He's a great guy and a good friend as well. Excellent. And Mark, I hope to see you today at 11:20 for our 2-hour Zoom call with Gold and Platinum students. Awesome. Well, I hope you found this session informative. If you're interested in my MBA program, just go to harounmba.com/FAQ, all lowercase. God bless you all. I'll see you next week and every week. Take care. Hi, I'm Chris Haroun, and this MBA degree program is not what you think it is. It's better. This program is more than 25 years of business experience, all rolled into one easy-to-access online program. I've sold over 1 million courses in every single country. I've worked at Goldman Sachs. I have an MBA from Columbia University. And I've worked in the venture capital, hedge fund, and consulting industries. I've also started many companies, and my courses have been featured in Forbes, Business Insider, CNN, and NBC. If you're ready to nail your next interview, get a better job, get a raise, start that business you've always dreamt of, improve the one you currently run, or better manage your personal finances, then this MBA degree program is for you. I can't begin to tell you how comprehensive this program is. It's got everything, including more than 300 hours of on-demand video. I would have to do one of those dramatic opening title crawls from a certain space movie just to show you. And check out all the amazing reviews from students who have already enrolled in this MBA degree program. Last but not least, there is a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee. And because you can access this program from any device, meaning a desktop computer or a laptop computer or a tablet or even your smartphone, it means you can comfortably fit it into your schedule. Even if you work full-time, it's no problem. So if you're ready to unlock the key to your potential, then I'll see you in class.